I, 32 work as a senior project manager in construction. My job is literally to look at blueprints, check structural integrity, and make sure the foundation of a building isn't rotting. It's pretty ironic that I spent so much time worrying about physical buildings while the foundation of my own life was being eaten away by termites in yoga pants. I've been with my girlfriend, 29F, for 4 years. She's a wellness influencer, which is basically code for I spend 10 hours a day on my phone while my boyfriend pays the rent. I've bankrolled her entire lifestyle: the ring lights, the expensive camera gear, the organic linen wardrobe, and the lease on a high-end apartment that she definitely couldn't afford on her own. I didn't mind being the provider because I thought we were building a future together. 3 weeks ago, she staged this big, dramatic scene in our living room. She lit some Palo Santo, looked me dead in the eye with that practiced influencer sincerity, and told me she was losing her alignment. She said the digital noise was crushing her soul and she needed a week-long silent spiritual retreat in the mountains. No phones, no contact, just her and the universe. I'm a pretty grounded guy, so I told her it sounded enlightening and gave her my blessing. She left on Monday, acting like she was headed to a monastery to find the meaning of life. The first few days were quiet, but on Thursday, I sat down to handle our monthly finances. We have a joint account for shared expenses like groceries and rent. I don't usually audit it because I trusted her, but when I logged in to move my half of the rent, I saw a pending charge that made my blood turn to ice. $4,200, Serenity Peak Luxury Resort and AMP Spa. I knew that place. It's not a silent retreat. It's a 5-star resort known for couples reconnection packages. I called the resort, put on my professional project manager voice, and told them I was the one who made the booking and needed to confirm the details. The receptionist was super helpful. She confirmed the couples package included private hot tubs, daily couples massages, and guided intimacy workshops. When I asked who the guest was, pretending I'd forgotten whose name we put down for dietary restrictions, she dropped the bomb. It was my best friend, 31M. The guy who was the best man at my brother's wedding. The guy I'd loaned $5,000 to last year, so he could save his startup. I didn't lose my cool. In my job, when you find a massive crack in a support beam, you don't scream at the beam. You perform a controlled demolition. I spent the next 6 hours gathering every financial document I had. The apartment? In my name. The Lexus she drives? A company lease in my name. The joint account? 90% my deposits. I realized she was 3 hours away, detoxing from her phone while actually using it to post delayed content to her followers. I called my lawyer to make sure I wouldn't get hit with a constructive eviction suit if I changed the situation at home. He gave me the roadmap. Step 1, the money. I didn't drain the joint account. That looks like malice in court. I calculated exactly what I had put in, subtracted my half of the bills, and moved my personal funds to a new bank. I left exactly $200 in the joint account, just enough for them to realize they were broke mid-massage. Step 2, the car. Since the Lexus was a company lease under my firm, I called a repo contractor near the resort. I told them the vehicle was being used without authorization. By midnight, the car was towed from the resort parking lot and moved to a secure lot 3 hours away. On Friday, my phone started blowing up. So much for the no phones rule. My girlfriend called me 7 times. I finally picked up. She was screaming that the car was stolen and her credit card had been declined at the resort checkout. I told her I'd reported the fraudulent resort charge to the bank and taken the car in for maintenance since she didn't need it at a silent retreat. I asked her how the tantric healing was going with my best friend. She hung up. Then the best friend called. He tried to tell me it wasn't what it looked like and that they were just talking. I told him the project of our friendship was terminated for a breach of contract. I also mentioned that as an investor in his startup, I was calling in his debt immediately. He had 24 hours to pay back the $5,000 or I'd file for involuntary bankruptcy against his business. I spent the rest of the day dismantling her influencer studio. I took the ring lights, the $3,000 camera, and the vanity mirror and put them in a storage unit in my name. I also canceled our fiber optic internet and replaced it with a 5 megabits per second, emergency plan that can barely load a Google search. When she finally got a rideshare home Friday night, she looked like a mess. She tried to play the victim, saying I was financially abusing her and that she'd ruin my reputation. She claimed she was a tenant and I couldn't kick her out. That's when I pulled out the sublease she'd signed 6 months ago. She wanted it back then so she could claim her office space as a tax deduction. I pointed out Clause 12, mandatory binding arbitration for disputes, and the fact that she was 2 months behind on her empowerment rent. I offered her $1,000 in cash to sign a move-out agreement and leave right then. I told her she had to log into her Instagram and post the truth first, that she was quitting the wellness space because she'd been living a lie funded by me. She was trapped. She had no car, no money, and no career if she didn't take the cash. She signed, posted the update, and threw the keys at me. I wasn't done with the best friend, though. I'd kept logs of our business emails. He'd used the $5,000 loan, which he claimed was for business growth, to pay off personal credit cards and fund that resort trip. I took that trail to the district attorney's office. Using business loans for personal enrichment under false pretenses is wire fraud. He thought he was just losing a friend. He's actually looking at a federal investigation and a felony record. He's currently trying to figure out how to explain his business expenses to the IRS while my ex-girlfriend has been effectively blacklisted by every brand she ever worked with. I'm now living in a smaller, quieter place. No Palo Santo, no fake alignment, just the sound of a life built on a solid foundation. People say I was too cold, but when you find termites in the load-bearing beams, you don't negotiate. You call the exterminator. If you enjoyed seeing a project manager handle a structural failure of a relationship, feel free to subscribe. I promise my future updates will have a lot more structural integrity than my ex's spiritual journey.